Hello! Today's video is about the annotated bibliography. So what is the annotated bibliography? Annotated bibliography contains two parts. One is the citation and the other is the annotation. The citation is the list of sources about a particular topic, and this would be the citation of the sources. And after that would be a brief paragraph that discusses specific aspects of the source. So we would begin your annotated bibliography after you've collected your sources. You collect all your sources and then you start to compile your annotated bibliography. So how is an annotated bibliography useful? So it's useful in many ways. One is to document your research on your subject. The next would be to see different perspectives on the topic or varying viewpoints. And the third would be to summarize the main points about the sources. The formatting for an annotated bibliography would depend on the style that you are using for the assignment. So for this particular assignment, we will be using MLA style. Other assignments might call for APA or Chicago style, etc., just depending on the type of assignment that you're doing. So you would arrange the sources by an alphabetical order, double-spaced, and in hanging indentation. And I will show you what hanging indentation looks like later on, but it is basically where the first line of the citation is aligned with the margin and all the rest of that particular, let's say, paragraph would be indented. Now, what is the annotation, or what should be in the annotation? The annotation is the paragraph that's following the citation, and the purpose of this would be to cover different aspects of how the source is relevant to your research. So first you would summarize the source. Then you would assess. Assess would basically be to evaluate the credibility of the source and to discuss whether or not you think the writer seems like an expert in the field. And lastly would be to reflect. Now the reflection is probably the most important part of the annotation, as it is like a note to self, where you describe how useful the source is to your particular topic or paper, the intended audience, and your reaction to the article. The length of the annotation would depend on a few things, but mainly on the length of the article and on how useful the article is for your particular final assignment. So the more useful it is, the more in-depth your annotations could be. So here is a sample. Well, actually more like a template. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so as you see, the top of the document would be in MLA style with a title, and then you would begin your first citation with its annotation. So here is the citation, and then on the same line you would begin your annotation. The first part of the annotation, as I mentioned before, is to summarize. And this could be a few sentences depending on the length of the article or the book or whatever it is that you're using. That would be the summary of it, main topics. The next part would be to assess. The assessment again would be does this seem like a reliable and current source? Why? Is it research-based or objective? Are the facts well documented? Who is the author? Is the source scholarly, popular, or some of both? Now, scholarly means that it's written for more of academic or experts in the fields. Popular would be something that the subject is the article or the book would be written for the general population. So you can decide which one do you think it is. And now this brings us to the reflection part. So the reflection would be where you would say, you reflect on the source. How does it fit into your research? Is it a helpful source? Is it too scholarly, not scholarly enough, etc.? And how does this fit into your topic? So again, think of the reflection part as a note to self, where you are really putting the details about why or why not it is useful. And that why not is just as helpful as the why, because after you've done, annotated several sources, maybe 5, maybe 10 or more, then you have to figure out which ones are useful. And if you're not detailed in the reflection portion, you may find yourself going back to sources that are not useful and coming to the same conclusion. So to save some time in the long run, definitely be detailed in your annotation. So the last thing I'd like to show you is how to format your annotation so that it looks like this. So I'll go ahead and put this back into regular paragraph form, and then I'll show you slowly what it would look like. So a typical paragraph would look like this, where you would have the indent at the first line and the rest of it is aligned with the margin. So what you want to do is you want to highlight your text. If you're working in a Word document, you go to Home and to the paragraph part, or you can right click and go to Paragraph. And here you would have, spacing would be double spaced, and under indentation, special, you would go to hanging. And it's actually nice to click this do not add space between paragraphs, and voila, there it is. You just have to do that for the entire body of the essay, not the top part. And that's about it. I hope this has been helpful, and please reach out if you have any questions.